Imagine being arrested for falling in love and getting married. Not for theft, not for violence, not for fraud, but simply for marriage. For most Americans today, that sounds impossible. Yet in 1958, for Richard and Mildred Loving, it was reality. Their arrest would set in motion a legal battle that would travel from rural Virginia to the United States Supreme Court. But at its heart, this was never a story about politics. This is a story about two people who fell in love, got married, and couldn't understand why the government believed it was any of their business. This is a case of loving.
This is African American History is American History.
By the 1890s, a web of segregation laws and customs had come to define what most Americans knew as the Jim Crow South. The campaign to prohibit interracial marriage gained new momentum during the 1920s with the worldwide popularity of eugenics, the now discredited pseudoscience that claimed humanity could be improved through selective breeding. Virginia's Racial Integrity Act of 1924 emerged directly from that movement. The law reaffirmed Virginia's long-standing ban on interracial marriage, but included a narrow exception for people with, quote, no other admixture of blood than white and American Indian, end quote. Believe it or not, some regarded this as progress, at least compared to Virginia's original 1691 law, which punished interracial couples with permanent banishment from the colony. By the 1950s, more than half of the states in the Union, including every southern state, still restricted marriage based on racial classifications. That brings us to Loving versus Virginia.
This is African American History is American History.
The case centered on Richard Loving, a white construction worker, and Mildred Loving, his wife. Mildred's exact ancestry remains somewhat unclear. While many sources identified her as black, she often described herself as Native American and Rappahannock Indian. The couple married in Washington, D.C. on June 2, 1958, then returned home to Virginia. 5 weeks later, in the early morning hours of July 11th, sheriff's deputies burst into their bedroom. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. Richard and Mildred Loving were arrested in their own home, simply for being married. The Commonwealth of Virginia charged them with violating the state's anti-miscegenation law, which made interracial marriage a felony. On January 6, 1959, the Lovings pleaded guilty to violating Virginia's Racial Integrity Act. Caroline County Circuit Court Judge Leon M. Bazile sentenced them to 1 year in prison.
Almighty God created the races, white, black, yellow, Malay, and red, and he placed them on separate continents. The fact that he separated the races shows that he did not intend for the races to mix.
Judge Bazile suspended the sentence for 25 years on one condition. Richard and Mildred had to leave Virginia and could not return together. Exiled from their home state, the Lovings relocated to Washington, D.C., where they raised their 3 children, Sidney, Donald, and Peggy. Yet they longed to return to the rural Virginia community where their families had lived for generations. In 1963, frustrated and homesick, Mildred Loving wrote a letter to U.S. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy asking for help. Kennedy referred the couple to the American Civil Liberties Union. The ACLU assigned 2 young attorneys, Bernard Cohen and Philip Hirschkopf, to the case. The legal battle began in November 1963, when the Lovings filed a motion seeking to overturn their convictions, arguing that Virginia's Racial Integrity Act violated the U.S. Constitution. Judge Bazile denied the motion. The Lovings appealed. They lost before Virginia's highest court. Then they took their case to the United States Supreme Court. The court agreed to hear it. During oral arguments, Virginia Assistant Attorney General Robert D. McIlwain III defended the state's marriage law, comparing it to restrictions against incest and polygamy. Cohen and Hirschkopf argued that Virginia's law violated the 14th Amendment's guarantees of due process and equal protection. At one point, Philip Hirschkopf challenged the very foundation of the law.
These are not health and welfare laws. These are slavery laws, pure and simple.
On June 12, 1967, the Supreme Court announced its decision. The ruling was unanimous. Virginia's ban on interracial marriage, and every similar law in the nation, was unconstitutional. Chief Justice Earl Warren wrote,
"Under our Constitution, the freedom to marry or not marry a person of another race resides with the individual and cannot be infringed by the state."
The decision overturned the Lovings' criminal convictions and immediately invalidated anti-miscegenation laws in 16 states. But its influence extended far beyond interracial marriage. Nearly 50 years later, the court would rely in part on Loving versus Virginia when it decided Obergefell versus Hodges, the landmark 2015 case that legalized same-sex marriage nationwide.
This is African American History is American History.
When Richard and Mildred Loving were arrested in 1958, only about 4% of Americans approved of marriage between black and white people. Today, approval exceeds 90%. Roughly 1 in 6 newlyweds in the United States now marry someone of a different race or ethnicity. What began as a simple desire of 2 people to live together as husband and wife became one of the most important civil rights victories in American history. Richard and Mildred Loving did not set out to change America. They simply wanted the freedom to love and to be left alone. But in the end, they changed the nation.
This has been African American History is American History.
I'm Brenda Ellison.
I'm Harlan Kearsley, and on behalf of everyone involved with African American History is American History, thank you for listening.
Please take the time to like, comment, and subscribe to the show. And after you hit that bell icon, you'll be notified as soon as new episodes drop. And to those who have already donated to our GoFundMe page, we thank you again so very much. To those who haven't donated yet, all I can say is, I know money is tight for everyone these days, but please know that whatever you can give will be greatly appreciated, and you'll be helping us to continue offering the gift of knowledge.
Thanks again, and please, stay safe. African American History is American History. Copyright H.C. Kearsley, 2026.